there has to be parallels between an actor and the character he plays. I think you draw from your experiences, whether they're firsthand experiences or experiences that you've witnessed others have. So there are parallels, of course, and you draw from all that. And as much of the light side of you that exists, there's the dark side of you. And how can you, as an actor, that's what we are. We're just these instruments. And even as a director, you know, you draw from that and you observe people and you look and you try to draw out these things that are really going to somehow connect with an audience, and at the same time give you a performance that's going to be a beacon of light, you know. I loved being in Sly's arms. It was just a magnificent experience, you know, laying there on the canvas in his arms. I kind of felt like from here to eternity. I mean, you know, instead of being on the beach, there we are on the canvas. I mean, there was something about it. We had such a great time making those movies, and you know, it felt so right for these two athletes, these two adversaries at one point, who were now friends, to have this kind of relationship that, at the end of it all, you know, you would not want your friend to be gone. So it all made perfect sense. Over the 4 movies that I did, there's so much in them. I'll tell you the things people remind me of. People love the scene in Apollo's office when he makes the decision to make this thing between he and the Italian stallion, right? And I always try to find ways, again, Italian instead of Italian, because that's the way a lot of people talk, you know, and to make it larger than life. People loved the running on the beach. I mean, that's one of those things, you know, a lot of women love the running on the beach, seeing these bodies in slow motion, all this musculature, you know. People love that. People love the thing with James Brown. People loved small things. When in Rocky III, when T and Sly are in the ring and he's doing all this stuff, and Sly starts to turn the tables, and Apollo grabs Paulie and kisses him in excitement. People love those moments, you know. And again, those things weren't scripted necessarily or directed, but it just seemed like, you know, wow, this is a moment for that. And so I constantly looked for those moments, and people liked those moments. Now, some of that, of course, is scripted, but the way in which it was shot or whatever, really, it touched people in a specific way. So there are many, many moments, but the people, you know, working with the people, working with Burt Young, working with Talia Shire, working with Sly, working with T, working with Dolph, John Avildsen as a director, Bob Butler, who was our DP. I mean, there are just so many instances. The first time the Steadicam was used in a motion picture that did so well. I mean, you know, there were so many things about those movies that are memorable, not only from the standpoint of a young actor and watching a certain progression in my career, but also as a fan of films, and also as a student of films, and also as a part of this industry, you know, the filmmaking community. I couldn't have been more fortunate. And at the same time, I still feel like there's so much more to do. You know, with some of the other movies I've done that have been successful, to have this body of work come together and differences in the types of movies that I've done, most of them being very physical, of course, but what a cool ride, you know, what a cool ride. I don't remember there being a buzz as much as once the film was screened, it seemed to me that people, it just sort of caught on, you know, and the more people that saw the film, the more people talked about the film, and the more people then wanted to see the film. So it was a kind of a groundswell once people saw it. I remember I was in New York just after the film was released. And to show you how powerful movies are, in our culture in particular, but in the world today, I was walking down a street in Manhattan the day before the film opened. Was not recognized by anybody, of course. I'd only done television and some movies that hadn't done particularly well. But no one recognized me. I was just another person walking down the street. The day after, the next day after the movie had been in theaters in New York, the vendors were going, "Yo, Apollo." That's powerful. I mean, in New York City, that is really powerful because not only did it say, and more than one, as I walked through Manhattan that day, I was actually surprised and shocked because you go from one day of complete anonymity to the next day of that kind of recognition and a certain amount of celebrity among New Yorkers. That's power. That's power of movies. Sly is really a larger than life character. I mean, he really is. When you get to know him and be around him, amazing sense of humor. Uh, uh, Really, I think probably more than anything, there is a tremendous sense of commitment to the things that he does, and certainly to the Rocky saga. He really was the guy who marshaled this thing through at every stage, and directed obviously four of these movies, three of the movies, and did an incredible job. I think he is an amazing director and should do a lot more of it, but also just a likable human being. The good news is, having been an athlete and training being a part of my life, I was used to a regimen. And as an athlete, one of the strong attributes that I bring to this business is a certain amount of discipline because that's how I grew up. I wasn't military, but professional football is very military-like in terms of they tell you when to wake up, they tell you when to go to sleep, they tell you where to show up at what time, and bang, 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 bang. So, things are sort of laid out and through university and on. That's pretty much the way it is. So I was prepared for the regimen and knew what it took and knew my body well enough to know how to create whatever we needed to create for those roles. The physical work, though, is still the physical work, and it's very, very demanding, and you pay the price. But, if you're going to play physical roles where you don't have a stuntman, you just pay the price, and that's what we did.